The invitation that smelled like death. 47 species signed with ink. We signed with blood we knew would spill. The message arrived at 0300 hours, Earth Standard Time. It came wrapped in diplomatic language, golden seals from 12 alien councils, and enough false promises to choke a star. The Galactic Harmony Accord. They called it the greatest peace treaty in 10,000 years. Commander Elias Vance read it 3 times. Each time his jaw tightened. "They want us on Velixar," he said to the darkness of his quarters. "Sacred ground, no weapons allowed." His reflection stared back from the viewport. Scarred face, silver hair cropped military short, and eyes that had seen too many friends become corpses. Admiral Yuki Tanaka's hologram flickered to life beside him. "The president wants this signed, Elias. The public wants peace. The war has taken too much." "The war they started," Vance replied. "Funny how they want peace now that we've learned to fight back." Yuki's expression softened. "What does your gut say?" Vance turned to face her properly. In 30 years of service, his gut had saved him 47 times. It had never been wrong. "My gut says this invitation is written in invisible blood. Ours." "Then why are we even considering it?" Vance smiled, a cold, dangerous thing. "Because they think we're stupid enough to come unarmed, and I want to see their faces when they realize we're not." He pulled up the fleet deployment screen. 5 ships appeared. The UNS Prometheus, Achilles, Nemesis, Judgment, and his flagship, the UNS Blackthorn. "If this is a trap," Vance said quietly, "we're going to spring it so hard they'll feel it for generations." Yuki studied him for a long moment. "And if it's actually peace?" "Then I'll apologize." He paused. "But I won't have to." The transmission ended. Vance stood alone, watching stars drift past his window. Somewhere out there, 47 alien species were preparing a welcome party. They had no idea humanity was bringing the funeral. 3 days later, the Blackthorn jumped to warp, and in the cargo hold, hidden behind false walls and scrambled signatures, lay enough firepower to crack a planet in half. Peace they wanted. Peace they would get, just not the kind they expected. Wolves in diplomats' clothing. We dressed like politicians. We thought like soldiers. We smiled like we didn't know they wanted us dead. The Velixar system was beautiful. 3 noons orbited a jade-green world wrapped in silver clouds. Ancient structures dotted the surface, temples to gods older than Earth's first bacteria. And in orbit, a station the size of a small continent floated like a mechanical angel. The Celestial Accord Station. Vance stepped off the shuttle in full diplomatic dress, medals polished, boots gleaming, and a smile so convincing even he almost believed it. Behind him walked his team. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Cross, Chief Intelligence Officer. She could read lies like other people read books. 5 languages, 3 martial arts, and a memory that never forgot a betrayal. Major Darius Stone, head of security, 2 meters of muscle wrapped around a tactical genius. He'd killed a Kreth warlord with a dinner fork during the siege of Europa. The fork was now framed in his quarters. Dr. Helena Marsh, Chief Medical Officer and biochemical weapons expert. If the air was poisoned, she'd know before the first molecule hit their lungs. Captain Kira Oyalaran, pilot and engineer. She could fly anything with an engine and break anything without one. And walking silently at the rear, a man with no official rank and no official name. They called him Ghost.
Weapons scan at the entrance, Cross murmured, barely moving her lips. They'll find the ceremonial sidearms, nothing else. Vance nodded slightly. The ceremonial sidearms were decoys, just enough metal to satisfy the scanners, while they missed the real weapons woven into the fabric of their uniforms, synthetic composites, undetectable. A Velixar delegate approached, all flowing robes and forearms spread wide in greeting. His translator chirped in accented English. "Commander Vance, such an honor. The council awaits. This day shall echo through eternity." "Let's hope so," Vance replied warmly. "Let's truly hope so." They walked through corridors of crystal and light. Every surface hummed with ancient technology. Every shadow, Vance noted, was deep enough to hide a shooter. Cross fell into step beside him. 17 hidden weapon signatures, she whispered, ceiling-mounted, auto-targeting. Expected. There's more. I'm detecting a signal dampener powering up in the lower levels. If it activates, we lose contact with the fleet. Vance didn't break stride. Time till activation? Best guess, they'll wait until the signing ceremony. Maximum humiliation, maximum witnesses. Then we have until then to find the control center. He caught Ghost's eye and gestured with 2 fingers. The man vanished into the crowd like smoke dissolving into air. They entered the grand chamber. 47 species filled the tiered seating, insectoid Keth clicking their mandibles, serpentine Coraxians coiled around their seats, the crystalline Vorn humming at frequencies that made human teeth ache. And in orbit, a station the size of a small continent floated like a mechanical angel. The Celestial Accord Station. Vance stepped off the shuttle in full diplomatic dress, medals polished, boots gleaming, and a smile so convincing even he almost believed it. Behind him walked his team. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Cross, Chief Intelligence Officer. She could read lies like other people read books. 5 languages, 3 martial arts, and a memory that never forgot a betrayal. Major Darius Stone, head of security. 2 meters of muscle wrapped around a tactical genius. He'd killed a Kreth warlord with a dinner fork during the siege of Europa. The fork was now framed in his quarters. Dr. Helena Marsh, Chief Medical Officer and biochemical weapons expert. If the air was poisoned, she'd know before the first molecule hit their lungs. Captain Kira Oyalaran, pilot and engineer. She could fly anything with an engine and break anything without one. And walking silently at the rear, a man with no official rank and no official name. They called him Ghost. "Weapons scan at the entrance," Cross murmured, barely moving her lips. "They'll find the ceremonial sidearms, nothing else." Vance nodded slightly. The ceremonial sidearms were decoys, just enough metal to satisfy the scanners, while they missed the real weapons woven into the fabric of their uniforms, synthetic composites, undetectable. A Velixar delegate approached, all flowing robes and forearms spread wide in greeting. His translator chirped in accented English. "Commander Vance, such an honor. The council awaits. This day shall echo through eternity." "Let's hope so," Vance replied warmly. "Let's truly hope so." They walked through corridors of crystal and light. Every surface hummed with ancient technology. Every shadow, Vance noted, was deep enough to hide a shooter. Cross fell into step beside him. 17 hidden weapon signatures, she whispered, ceiling-mounted, auto-targeting. Expected. There's more. I'm detecting a signal dampener powering up in the lower levels. If it activates, we lose contact with the fleet. Vance didn't break stride. Time till activation? Best guess, they'll wait until the signing ceremony. Maximum humiliation, maximum witnesses. Then we have until then to find the control center. He caught Ghost's eye and gestured with 2 fingers. The man vanished into the crowd like smoke dissolving into air. They entered the grand chamber. 47 species filled the tiered seating, insectoid Keth clicking their mandibles, serpentine Caraxians coiled around their seats, the crystalline Vorn humming at frequencies that made human teeth ache. And in orbit, a station the size of a small continent floated like a mechanical angel.
The truth hidden in the dark. They built a weapon to kill us all. They just forgot humans were born in the dark, and we learned to hunt there. Ghost's voice crackled through Vance's neural implant, a whisper only he could hear. "Commander, Sub-Level 7, you need to see this." Vance excused himself from a conversation with a Methian ambassador, something about trade routes and mineral rights, and slipped through a maintenance corridor. Cross appeared beside him. "I'm coming. Someone needs to watch the chamber. Stone has it. If anything moves wrong, he'll start the party early." They descended through service tunnels carved into the station's bones. The deeper they went, the older the technology became. Ancient, pre-galactic. Ghost waited in the shadows of a massive chamber. "Found their insurance policy," he said, gesturing into the darkness. Vance's blood went cold. It was a device, a towering structure of crystalline tubes and pulsing energy cores. Symbols covered its surface, languages dead before humanity's ancestors crawled from the ocean. "Biological frequency resonator," Cross breathed. "I've heard rumors, thought they were myths." "They're not myths." Ghost pulled up a holographic scan. "It's calibrated to human cellular structure, DNA specific. When activated, it sends a pulse through the entire station. Any biological matter matching human genetics experiences immediate cellular cascade failure." Vance translated silently. Every human present would melt from the inside out. "Range?" "The station and everything within 50,000 kilometers, including our ships if they're in position for the ceremony." Cross's face was pale. "They were never going to let us leave." "No," Vance studied the device. "They weren't, but they made one mistake." "What's that?" He smiled grimly. "They assumed we trusted them. They assumed we'd bring our ships close. They assumed we'd come hoping for peace instead of expecting war." He activated his secure channel. "Stone, Marsh, Oyalaran, conference, now." 30 seconds later, 4 additional neural signatures joined the connection. "Here's the situation," Vance began. "The signing is an execution ceremony. There's a weapon that will kill every human on this station and in the surrounding space. We have 3 hours until midnight." Silence. Then Stone's voice, steady as granite. "Orders, sir." "We have 3 objectives. First, disable that weapon. Ghost, you stay here. Find a way to shut it down or blow it up. Second, our fleet stays at minimum safe distance. Oyalaran, relay new coordinates. They don't move closer until I give the all clear. Third," he paused, letting the weight settle. "We expose them. Every species in that chamber thinks this is legitimate peace. They don't know about the weapon. They don't know the High Council is committing genocide under their noses." Cross understood immediately. If we can prove it, then it's not humans versus the galaxy. It's the High Council versus everyone they've been lying to. Marsh spoke up. "Commander, I can synthesize a compound that temporarily shields human cells from frequency disruption. 30 minutes of protection, maybe 40. It won't stop the weapon, but it'll buy time if Ghost can't shut it down." "Do it. Inject everyone on the team, including the decoy diplomats on the ships." Vance's jaw tightened. They had 40 human delegates aboard the fleet, actors and soldiers playing politician, ready to make the armada look like a proper diplomatic convoy. If the weapon fired before Ghost succeeded, those 40 would die screaming. "Everyone you can reach, move fast." The connection ended. Vance stood in the darkness, staring at the machine built to murder his species.
This is what they think of us, pests to be exterminated, vermin that learn to talk. He touched his chest, feeling the hidden weapon beneath his jacket. They have no idea what vermin can do when cornered. 2 hours to midnight, the weapon hummed below the station's floor, hungry for human blood, and in the grand chamber above, the High Council smiled and raised their glasses to eternal friendship, never knowing that humanity's answer was already climbing through their walls like a razor in the dark. Midnight falls. They thought midnight would bring our death. They forgot that humans own the night. 11:47 p.m., station time. The grand chamber blazed with light. Every delegate had returned, every seat filled. Holo cameras broadcast the ceremony to 10,000 worlds. The greatest piece in galactic history. The greatest lie. Vance stood at the signing podium, the treaty document glowing before him, a crystalline tablet etched with terms of surrender disguised as cooperation. The Archon's voice echoed. "And now, Commander Elias Vance, representative of humanity, will add Earth's mark to the celestial accord. Let this moment—" "Commander," Ghost's voice in his neural link. "Bad news. The weapon has a failsafe. I can't disable it remotely. I have to physically destroy the core, and if I do, the explosion takes out 3 levels. Including you?" A pause. "Most likely." Vance didn't hesitate. "Negative. Find another way. That's an order." "Sir, another way, Ghost. We don't sacrifice our people. That's what makes us different from them." He felt Cross beside him, tense as a coiled spring. "Commander Vance," the Archon's voice cut through. "Is there a problem?" Vance looked up, smiled. "No problem at all. Just savoring the moment." He reached for the tablet and stopped. "Actually," he said, his voice carrying through the chamber, "I have a question." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "In the spirit of transparency, a value the Archon claims to cherish, I'd like to ask the High Council about the device in sub-level 7. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. The Archon's face twitched. "I don't understand the reference." "Allow me to clarify." Vance pulled a small disc from his pocket and activated it. A hologram exploded into the air. Ghost's scan of the weapon. Every detail, every specification, every DNA calibration locked onto human genetics. Gasps erupted. Delegates surged to their feet. The Caraxian delegation slithered toward the exits. The Vorn crystals shattered their harmonic hum in panic. A dozen species screamed accusations at the High Council. The Archon rose, fury replacing his diplomatic mask. "Lies! Human propaganda! Guards, arrest the human commander!" Armed figures poured from hidden alcoves, plasma rifles raised, but Vance wasn't running. Stone stepped forward, his massive frame blocking the nearest soldiers. Cross already had her weapon drawn, the one that didn't exist on any scanner. And then every light in the chamber exploded. Total darkness for exactly 3 seconds. When emergency power flickered back, humanity had transformed. Gone were the diplomats. In their place stood soldiers. Vance held a pulse rifle he'd assembled from hidden components. Stone had somehow produced a full tactical shield. Cross moved like liquid shadow, already neutralizing 2 guards before anyone registered she'd moved. "Let me be very clear," Vance said into the stunned silence. "We came here knowing this was a trap. We came armed because we're not stupid. And we came anyway because we wanted the galaxy to see who their beloved High Council really is." The Archon snarled. "You'll die for this, human." "Maybe," Vance shrugged, "but we'll die fighting, and you'll die exposed. Which one of us loses more?" He activated his comm. "All ships, execute Protocol Omega. Light them up." Outside the station, 5 human dreadnoughts that had hidden just beyond sensor range dropped their stealth fields and opened fire. Not at the station, not yet. At the weapon satellites the Council thought we'd never find. At the ambush fleet hiding behind Velixar's third moon. At every trap they'd so carefully prepared. Because humanity hadn't just come armed. They'd come ready to burn their entire conspiracy to ash. And they were just getting started.
The galaxy watches humanity rise. They called us primitives. They called us dangerous. And that night we showed them exactly why both were true. The station shook as explosions rocked the void outside. Commander Vance moved through the grand chamber like a force of nature, his team forming a protective diamond around him. Alien delegates scattered, some fleeing, some screaming, some frozen in shock. "Oyalaran, status!" he barked into his comm. Prometheus took out their weapon satellite grit. Achilles is engaging the ambush fleet. They had 30 ships hiding, Commander. 30! They were going to hit us right after the signing. Emphasis on were. Continue engagement. Disabled. Don't destroy unless necessary. I want prisoners. Copy that. A Valaxian guard lunged at Vance with an energy blade. Stone intercepted, catching the alien's arm and twisting until something cracked. The guard collapsed. "Commander!" Cross pointed toward the exit. "They're sealing the chamber!" Massive blast doors were descending, ancient technology, thick enough to survive orbital bombardment. "Ghost!" Vance shouted into his link. "Tell me you found another way!" Static. Then, "Working on it. The weapon has a manual override in the core itself. I can reach it, but I need time." "How much time?" "More than we have." 3 minutes to midnight. The blast doors sealed with a thunderous boom. Trapped. 200 aliens and 5 humans locked in a chamber with politicians who wanted them dead. The Archon laughed, a cruel, rattling sound. "Did you truly believe you could escape? The weapon will fire, your ships will burn, and humanity's corpses will serve as a message to every species that dares challenge the Council." Vance lowered his rifle. For a moment, everyone went still. Then he smiled. "You still don't understand, do you?" He holstered his weapon and walked toward the Archon, hands open, steps unhurried. "We didn't come here to escape. We didn't come here to win a battle. We came here to show the galaxy what you really are." He gestured at the hundreds of delegates cowering against the walls. "They came for peace, real peace. They believed you. And you were going to murder them right alongside us, because some of them were getting too close to humans. Some of them were starting to see us as allies instead of threats." The Keth ambassador's mandibles clicked. The Caraxian envoy's scales rippled. "Oh yes," Vance continued, "we found the secondary targeting parameters. The weapon doesn't just kill humans, it kills anyone with prolonged human contact, trade partners, cultural exchange visitors, species who've shown us kindness." He turned to face the room. The High Council wasn't just planning genocide against humanity. They were planning to purge anyone who might side with us. How many of your people have worked with humans? How many would die tonight if their plan succeeded? Silence. Terrible, crushing silence. Then the Methian ambassador spoke, a species known for their pacifism, their gentleness. "Is this true?" Her voice trembled. "Archon, is this true?" The Archon's composure cracked. "They are manipulating you. The humans are—" "Answer the question." It wasn't a request. The Archon's silence was confession enough. 2 minutes to midnight. "Commander," Ghost's voice strained, "I've reached the core. I can destroy it, but I can't get clear. Do I have authorization?" Vance closed his eyes. One man's life versus every human in range.
It was the calculus of war. It was the equation he'd solved 100 times. And he refused to solve it this way. Negative. Find another... Sir, there is no other way. 60 seconds. I need authorization now. Vance's hand shook, the first time in 30 years. Ghost. Mikhail. It's okay, Commander. Ghost's voice was calm. At peace. Tell them I went down fighting. Tell them we all did. And tell those alien bastards. A pause. Tell them humanity never surrenders, not even to death. The connection cut. 5 seconds passed. Then the station trembled as a deep explosion rolled through its domes. Not catastrophic, not fatal, just final. The weapon's hum, which had been building toward its crescendo, went silent. Ghost, Mikhail Volkov, soldier, shadow, hero, was gone. The clock struck midnight, the weapon never fired, and as the Grand Chamber's blast doors groaned open, forced by 100 alien delegates no longer content to watch, the galaxy saw humanity for what we really were. Not monsters, not primitives, but people willing to die for each other. The only question left was simple. What would the galaxy do now that they'd seen the truth? Humanity's final answer. They wanted us extinct. Instead, they made us eternal, because the galaxy never forgets the ones who refuse to kneel. 12 hours after midnight, the Celestial Accord station had become something new, a courtroom. The High Council sat in chains, literal chains, forged by the Keth artisans who had once built their thrones. Around them, every surviving delegate had gathered, not as subordinates, as judges. Commander Vance stood in the Grand Chamber, no longer in dress uniform. He wore his combat gear, still stained with the fight. He hadn't slept. He wouldn't sleep until this was finished. "The evidence is complete," he said, his voice carrying through broadcast systems that reached every corner of known space. Audio recordings of the High Council planning genocide, technical specifications of the weapon, and the testimony of 47 species who were nearly murdered alongside humanity. The Archon spat. "You had no right." "I had every right." Vance stepped closer. "You tried to exterminate my people. You tried to silence anyone who might mourn us. You dressed murder in diplomatic robes and called it peace." He turned to face the gallery. "We didn't come here for war. We came here because there was a chance, a tiny chance, that this was real, that after all the blood, all the lies, someone actually wanted to stop fighting." His voice softened. "We lost someone tonight, a good man, a soldier named Mikhail Volkov. He gave his life to stop that weapon, not because he hated you, because he believed humanity deserved to live, because he believed everyone deserved to live without fear." Silence held the chamber like a prayer. "So, here's what happens now." Vance pulled out a new document, one hastily drafted in the hours since midnight, signed by species after species as they processed what they'd witnessed. The High Council is dissolved. Their members will face trial for crimes against sentient life. The Celestial Accord is void, replaced by a new treaty, one written by every species, with safeguards against tyranny. He looked at the delegates, saw fear in some faces, hope in others, uncertainty in most. And humanity? He smiled, not cold this time, tired, grieving, but real. "We're not leaving, we're not hiding, we're staying right here in the heart of the galaxy we were never supposed to survive. Not as conquerors, as partners, real partners, the kind who come to peace talks armed because they've learned the hard way that trust is earned." The Keth ambassador rose. Her ancient voice crackled through translators across 1,000 worlds. The Keth stand with humanity from this day forward. The Methian ambassador stood, and as do the Methians. One by one they rose, species that had feared humanity, species that had traded with humanity, species that had watched from the sidelines, waiting to see which way the wind blew. 43 of 47. When the last voice fell silent, Vance nodded slowly. Then let's get to work. We have a galaxy to fix. He turned to leave, but stopped at the doorway. One more thing. Every eye fixed on him. If anyone ever tries this again, against humanity or against anyone, we'll be ready. Not because we're warmongers, because we remember what happens when good people do nothing. He straightened, and for just a moment the weariness fell away. Humanity came armed. We always will. But the weapons aren't the point. The point is we showed up. We fought back, and we didn't become monsters to defeat them. His eyes found the archons. That's the difference between us. You feared what we might become. We feared what we'd lose if we became it. He walked out into a corridor filled with soldiers, diplomats, and species who had just watched everything change.